I should have known something was wrong the moment my cousin Jessica dropped the family reunion announcement into our group chat. Everyone must attend. No exceptions. We need to discuss Sarah's situation. My situation. That's what my family had been calling my life for 6 years now, as if it were a problem to be solved instead of a choice I'd made. I'm Sarah Chin, and in my family's version of events, I'm the cautionary tale. The daughter who walked away from a safe corporate career to chase a reckless startup dream. The one who moved across the country to San Diego's biotech corridor and slowly disappeared from holidays and reunions. The embarrassment. The black sheep. They believed I stopped coming because I was ashamed. The truth was simpler and far more exhausting. Every visit became an intervention. It started when I was 24. I had a solid job as a research scientist at a major pharmaceutical company in Boston. Good pay, a clear career path, and parents who finally felt comfortable bragging about me. Then my mentor, Dr. Patricia Rodriguez, pulled me aside one evening after lab hours. "Sarah," she said, "I'm leaving to start a biotech company, targeted cancer therapies. I want you to come with me, as co-founder, chief scientific officer." I didn't hesitate. My family did enough hesitating for all of us. "You're throwing away a 6-figure job for what?" My father yelled over the phone. "Do you know how many startups fail? 90%. My mother's fear came wrapped in concern. "Patricia is using you. You're young, naive. This will ruin your career." Marcus, my older brother, hedge fund analyst, family golden child, laughed outright. CSO of a company that doesn't exist yet. Fancy title for unemployment. I went anyway. Because I believed in the science. I believed in Patricia. And I believed, quietly but stubbornly, in myself. BioNova Therapeutics launched with $2 million in seed funding, a cramped lab, and 3 employees. Patricia, me, one exhausted lab technician. We worked 16-hour days. I lived in a shoebox apartment, drove a battered 15-year-old Honda, and survived on ramen, caffeine, and purpose. To my family, my absence from gatherings meant failure. They had no idea I was building something extraordinary. What I never told them, deliberately, was that BioNova wasn't struggling. We were thriving. Year 1, $15 million in series of funding after early trials showed a 73% success rate. Year 2, $45 million in Series B and FDA Breakthrough Therapy designation. Year 3, an $80 million partnership with a major pharmaceutical company. Year 4, Phase 3 trials exceeded expectations. Valuation hit $500 million. Year 5, FDA approval. Revenue projections exploded. Year 6, BioNova Therapeutics was valued at $165 million. I held 23% equity. My personal net worth crossed $38 million. We employed 147 people. Our therapy was saving lives. But to my family, I was still the daughter who made a mistake. I stopped sharing my successes early on. Every piece of good news had been met with dismissal. "That's just other people's money you'll lose," Dad said when I mentioned funding. "Don't count your chickens," Mom warned when the FDA designation came through. So I let them keep their story. I built a different world instead, one filled with people who trusted me. My team, my partners, Patricia, and David, my fiancé, a fellow scientist who understood exactly what this path demanded. I showed up to family events maybe once every 18 months. I kept conversations shallow. "Yes, work is fine." "No, I don't want to talk about money." "No, Marcus, I don't need career advice." The pity was almost impressive in its consistency. Aunt Linda squeezed my hand. Uncle Robert offered to put in a word somewhere. Cousins spoke to me slowly, as if disappointment were contagious. I smiled. I deflected. I endured. Everything changed when I missed Marcus's wedding. I was in Switzerland, presenting BioNova's research at a major pharmaceutical conference, an invitation-only event with European investors. A potential $200 million partnership hung in the balance. I sent a generous gift and my regrets. Marcus exploded. He called me selfish, accused me of jealousy, told the family I was too broke to attend. From that moment, pity curdled into suspicion. "She's hiding something," Marcus insisted. Mom became convinced I was financially ruined, possibly homeless. Dad decided biotech startups were scams and I was probably involved in something illegal. The group chat turned into a live investigation. They dissected my social media posts. Same outfit, cheap restaurant, no video calls. It might have been funny if it hadn't been so insulting. 3 months later came the reunion invitation, Aunt Carol's 70th birthday, a long weekend at Uncle Robert's estate in Connecticut. You need to come, Mom said. We're worried about you. David urged me to go. Maybe it's time to tell them the truth. So I agreed. What I didn't know was that they'd pooled $11,200 to hire a private investigator. Marcus planned it. He was certain he'd uncover proof of failure, or fraud, or both. I arrived Friday evening in my old Honda, dressed simply, wanting nothing more than to see my grandmother and survive the weekend. The first night was tense. Polite questions, side glances, whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room. Marcus kept smirking at his phone. Something was coming. Saturday morning, I woke to 17 missed calls and dozens of messages. Emergency family meeting, 2 p.m. Everyone must attend. Sarah, this concerns you. We're doing this because we love you. It's time for the truth. My stomach sank. David told me to leave. Then Grandma called. Please come, sweetheart, she said softly. Whatever this is, you won't face it alone. That was why I stayed. Not for my parents, not for Marcus. For Grandma, who had never stopped believing in me, even when she didn't understand my choices. We don't know where you're really living, Mom said through tears, or what you're really doing. So you decided to investigate me. I kept my voice steady, even. Dad stepped forward. Hands raised like this was some kind of mercy. We just wanted the truth. We love you, Sarah. We can't help you if we don't know what's really going on. Marcus couldn't hold it in any longer. We pooled $12,000, he announced proudly. Hired the best private investigator in Boston. Former FBI. 25 years of experience. He's been tracking you for 60 days. He turned to me, satisfaction written all over his face. It's time to stop lying. The room fell silent. The man standing near the fireplace shifted uncomfortably. His name badge read James Morrison, Morrison Investigations. I really think this conversation should happen privately, he said carefully, directing the comment at Marcus. No, Marcus snapped. Everyone stays. We've all been lied to. Everyone deserves the truth. Mom nodded, wiping her cheeks. We're doing this because we care, sweetheart. I looked around the room. Concern, curiosity, anticipation. Cousin Jessica had her phone raised. Recording. Fine, I said softly. Let's hear what he found. I took the chair they'd clearly placed for me in advance. Morrison opened his briefcase and removed 2 folders, one thick, the other even thicker. I was retained by Marcus Chin to conduct a comprehensive background investigation on Sarah Chin. He began. I followed all legal and professional protocols. Marcus leaned forward eagerly. Tell them about the fake company. Tell them where she's really living. Morrison's jaw tightened. Before I proceed, I need to clarify something. When I conduct investigations, particularly financial ones, it's standard practice to examine all relevant parties, especially immediate family members. Just read the report. Marcus snapped. Morrison looked at me. For the first time, I saw it, sympathy, respect, a warning. Very well. He opened the first folder. Subject A, Sarah Chin, age 30, current residence, San Diego, California. Marcus scoffed. What kind of place? A rented apartment? A shelter? Morrison didn't look up. A 2,400 square foot condominium in La Jolla, purchased outright in 2021 for $1.8 million. The room froze. Dad stammered. That can't be right. Morrison continued calmly. Employment, co-founder and chief scientific officer of BioNova Therapeutics, Incorporated, company founded February 2019. Current valuation based on latest funding round, $165 million. Mom made a small, broken sound. Subject holds 23% equity. Estimated personal net worth, approximately $38 million. You could hear breathing. Annual compensation, base salary $285,000, excluding bonuses and stock options. Subject holds 3 registered patents in targeted cancer therapies. Subject has been featured in Forbes, MIT Technology Review, and the San Diego Business Journal. Named to Forbes 30 Under 30 Healthcare in 2022. Marcus shot to his feet. That's wrong. You've got the wrong file. Check again. Morrison finally looked at him. I personally verified all records, property ownership, corporate filings, legal counsel, compensation, every detail. He paused. Sarah Chin is exactly who she claims to be. He pulled a magazine from the folder and held it up. Forbes, page 47. My photo stared back at them. Aunt Linda gasped, "Oh my God." But Morrison wasn't finished. He closed the first folder and opened the second. His tone changed. During my investigation, I also reviewed financial relationships between Sarah Chin and her immediate family. What I discovered was troubling. Marcus frowned. What are you talking about? When Sarah moved to California 6 years ago, she still maintained a joint checking account with her parents, an account established during college. She also had a trust fund created by her grandmother, managed by Robert Chin as trustee. Uncle Robert went white. Sarah never closed these accounts. Morrison continued. According to legally obtained bank records, there have been repeated unauthorized withdrawals over the past 6 years. Mom stood abruptly. Unauthorized? Morrison opened the folder wider. From the joint checking account, which Sarah continued depositing money into monthly, there were withdrawals totaling $147,000. None were made by Sarah. Dad's face flushed. Hold on. From the trust fund, Morrison said firmly, there were unauthorized distributions totaling $233,000. The room began to buzz. These funds were distributed to family members without Sarah's consent or knowledge. Uncle Robert stood. Those were loans. Loans require written agreements and beneficiary approval. Morrison replied, neither exists. What exists is a clear pattern of financial exploitation. He laid out bank statements. Withdrawals from the joint account were made by Marcus Chin and Catherine Chin. Mom froze. Trust fund distributions were authorized by Robert Chin and transferred to himself, Marcus Chin, and Carol Peterson. Aunt Carol made a strangled sound. In total, Morrison said, unauthorized transfers amount to $380,000. He looked around the room. These transactions meet the legal definition of wire fraud, multiple felony counts. Chaos erupted. That's family money, Mom screamed. She abandoned us, Marcus yelled. She owed us. This is a misunderstanding, Uncle Robert said, backing away. You had discretion to distribute funds to Sarah, Morrison said coldly, not to yourselves. The trust documents are unambiguous. I stayed seated. $380,000. And suddenly, for the first time in my life, they were the ones being investigated. They had taken $380,000 from me while calling me a failure, while whispering about my situation, while hiring an investigator to prove I was a fraud. I stood slowly. Sarah, honey, we can explain, Mom said, her tears finally real. We thought you were struggling. We thought. You thought you could take my money, I said quietly, while telling everyone I was probably homeless. The room went still. You hired a private investigator to humiliate me in front of the entire family because you were convinced I was either poor or criminal. I turned to Morrison. Thank you for your work. I'd like copies of everything. Of course, Miss Chin, he said. I've also already forwarded my findings. Before I could ask where, we heard it, multiple cars pulling up outside. Doors slammed. Morrison checked his watch. That would be them. Uncle Robert rushed to the window. Oh God, no. Marcus grabbed Morrison's arm. What did you do? Morrison pulled free. As a former FBI agent, I'm a mandated reporter. When I uncover evidence of felony financial crimes, I'm legally required to notify authorities. I contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Division 3 days ago. The doorbell rang. 6 FBI agents stood outside, 2 in suits, 4 in tactical gear. Robert Chin, Marcus Chin, Catherine Chin, you need to come with us. Chaos followed. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Dad stood frozen, his face drained of color. Marcus bolted for the back door, only to be met by 2 agents already waiting. This is insane, Marcus shouted as they read him his rights. She's family. You can't arrest family for family money. Wire fraud, one agent replied calmly. Multiple counts, conspiracy, up to 20 years per count. Uncle Robert pleaded, I'll pay it back. Every penny. Sarah, tell them this was a misunderstanding. I didn't move. Aunt Carol cried. Marcus shouted that I'd given permission. I never did, I said clearly. I didn't know any of this was happening. An agent approached me. Miss Chin, I'm Agent Williams. We'll need a formal statement. I'll give one, I said, and I will press charges. Mom looked up at me, mascara streaking her face. Sarah, please, we're your family. I looked at her, really looked. No, I said softly. Family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't humiliate you. Family doesn't build a lie about your life while secretly funding theirs with your money. They led Mom, Marcus, and Uncle Robert out in handcuffs. Dad wasn't arrested, he hadn't made the withdrawals, but he looked destroyed anyway. The rest of the family sat in stunned silence. Jessica had stopped recording. She was pale. You all believed the story, I said. Not one of you asked me directly if I was okay. You decided who I was without ever listening. But you never told us the truth, Cousin David said weakly. Because every time I tried, I was dismissed, I replied. So I stopped trying, and built my life with people who believed in me. I picked up my bag. Grandma stood then. She crossed the room slowly. I'm sorry, she said. I should have trusted you. My throat tightened. You were always kind to me. I'm proud of you, she said. Your grandfather would be, too. That almost broke me. I need to go. I walked out, got into my 15-year-old Honda, the one I kept because it ran perfectly fine, and drove away. My phone rang before I reached the highway. David, Patricia, my attorney. I pulled over and called David. How bad? He asked. FBI arrests. Wire fraud. $380,000. A pause. How are you? I don't know yet, I said. Ask me tomorrow. The legal process took 6 months. Uncle Robert pled guilty, paid restitution, lost his license, and received probation. Marcus went to trial, was convicted, and sentenced to federal prison. Mom took a plea deal, lighter, but deserved. Dad divorced her. The family fractured. Some blamed me. Those people are no longer in my life. The money, $524,000 with penalties, I donated entirely to cancer research. I didn't want it back. It felt poisoned. BioNova was acquired last month for $890 million. My stake was worth $24 million. I'm now Executive Vice President of Research and Development, leading 300 scientists. Our therapy has saved over 4,000 lives. David and I married quietly in San Diego. Patricia officiated. Grandma attended. The rest of the guests were chosen family. Marcus wrote me from prison. 8 pages of excuses. 1 line of truth. I should have been happy for you. I haven't decided whether to respond. Mom sends cards sometimes. Small updates. No requests. No apologies. The only opinion that matters now is my own. This morning, before heading to the lab, I looked in the mirror. Dr. Sarah Chin. Executive Vice President. Cancer Researcher. Co-founder. Forbes 30 Under 30. Saver of lives. They tried to investigate me to prove I was a fraud. Instead, they proved I was exactly who I said I was. Just not who they wanted me to be. And that's their loss, not mine.